Have you ever found yourself craving your mother's love, wishing for a relationship where she supports you, embraces you, and encourages you, but instead you're left with the pain and the confusion trying to figure out why she acts the way she did? It's a tough place to be, wanting that deep connection while also dealing with the hurt she had caused. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the mother's wound and what it means to give your mother grace while still honoring your own feelings. We explore how to understand her as a whole person with her own struggles without dismissing the real impact her action had on you. It's about finding ways to heal and move forward, even when the relationship hasn't been what you needed it to be. Today is just me and you talking through these complex emotions and trying to make sense of them together. My hopes is that by the end of this episode that you'll have a little more clarity and maybe even a bit of peace as you continue on your healing journey. But before we dive into that, I want to welcome anyone who's new here. Hi, I am Rose, and I'm your host here, and I'm just one woman with one voice trying to create a space where we can heal, find peace, and support each other. If you're on your healing journey and you're looking for a community that gets it, you're in the right place, okay? We'll love for you to join our sisterhood. Just hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you never miss another episode of a Sisters Love podcast. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, SISTA, Let's Heal Together, where we keep the conversations going from this podcast, share our stories, and support each other along the way. Welcome to A Sister's Love, the podcast that helps women who are healing by having those deep conversations, giving practical advice and words of encouragement. Come on, let's talk about it. I want to start today's episode opening up about my relationship with my mother and how it shaped so much of who I am today, both the good ways and ways that I'm still working through. My mother wasn't what you would call the best mother. Our relationship left a lot of scars that only now I'm learning to heal. My mother married my father before I was born, and for a while, she played the role of the perfect housewife. She cooked, cleaned, took care of the house, and me and my siblings. But everything changed when she filed for divorce from my father. After they split, it was like she found her freedom again. And I get it. After dealing with a man who cheated on her, abused her, and a man that was battling with a drug addiction, I get it. She started to work on herself, rebuild herself, but doing that, I think she forgot that she was still a mother. She started to do the bare minimum for us. She made sure that we had most of our needs was met, a roof over our head, food on the table, clothes on our back, but emotionally and physically, she just wasn't there. You rarely saw her. Birthday passed without a single celebration. And instead of her stepping up, she left that responsibility to raise us with my older sister. But my sister was just a child herself, and she was a mother herself, and she had her own responsibilities. So soon that burden fell on me. Listen, I had to take care of the house, look after my siblings and my nieces and nephews. In the midst of all of that, I was left alone with a predator. He abused me over and over again. And when my mother finally found out, instead of her protecting me, she beat me. It wasn't just my mother. It was my entire family. No one stood up for me. No one acknowledged what was happening. I was left to fend for myself, to carry the weight of the trauma on my own. Even now, they still avoid the issue, refusing to acknowledge what happened. And the neglect, being left alone, it planted that deep sense of loneliness in me, the loneliness that turned into fear. I was terrified of being abandoned, of not being good enough that the fear, it started to consume me. Emotionally, I started to shut down. I became so protective of myself, but also so critical. I had this deep belief that I wasn't worthy of love. I feel like if my own mother couldn't love me, then who could? That feeling followed me into every part of my life. It shaped the way I loved myself because for the longest time, I didn't love myself at all. I believe I wasn't good enough, that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't worthy of care or attention. And the way I carried myself, it reflected that I walked around feeling invisible, like I didn't matter. I constantly sought validation from other people, trying to prove my worth because I didn't believe I had any. I became so used to neglect and abandonment that it became my norm. And because of that, I didn't set boundaries. I didn't protect myself and I allowed others to treat me the way I thought I deserved to be treated. When I became a mother, all of those fears, all of those anxieties came rushing back. I became overprotective, terrified of something happening to my kids. I was so focused on keeping them safe that I end up smothering them. I didn't want them to even feel the way I felt. But trying so hard to protect them, I end up doing the very thing that I feared the most. I hurt them. Yep, that's what I did. I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only one who's going through this. So many of us are carrying the scars of our childhood from the way that our mother felt us, whether it was neglect, emotional absence, over or outright abuse. These wounds run deep and they shape us in how we love, how we parent, and how we see ourselves. But I also learned that healing has to start with understanding that our mother's actions was a result of her own pain, her own trauma. She was dealing with things that I didn't fully understand at the time. And I realized that the way I was overprotected of my kids, the way I struggled to love myself, and all that came from the place of deep fear, a fear that I didn't want to pass on to my children. Which brings me to this episode topic, giving our mothers grace. I'm going to say this now, and it won't be easy. And I want to be really clear. Giving grace does not mean ignoring what happened or pretending it didn't happen or it don't hurt. It's not about saying I'm okay or it's okay, because it's not. The pain is real and you're not okay because of it. But here's the thing, holding on to that anger and resentment keeps you stuck for so long. And it kept me stuck. I was living in this constant cycle of pain and it was eating me alive. For the longest time, I was so angry at my mom for not protecting me, for not being there when I needed her. That anger, it was like a shield. It kept me from feeling the full weight of the pain, but it also kept me from healing. And I was stuck with all these questions. Why didn't she love me the way that I needed? Why wasn't she there for me? Why didn't she protect me? Those questions haunted me for years. But as I started my own healing journey, especially after becoming a mother myself, I began to see things differently. I started to realize that my mother had her own pain, her own trauma that she never dealt with. She coped the only way that she knew how, even though it wasn't what I needed. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't excuse what she did. It wasn't okay, but it helped me understand her more as a person, not just as my mother. She has her own battles, her own struggles, and I got caught in the middle of that. And you know what? It wasn't about me. It was about her. That realization didn't take away the pain, but it made me see her differently. That's when when I became a mother, I started to see myself in her. It hit me hard. I started to see how my own unhealed trauma and my own issues with my mom was affecting my children. I saw how my own wounds was wounding them. And I needed their forgiveness and their understanding. I needed them to give me grace. But how could I ask them for something that I haven't even given to my own mother? Yeah, that's the shit that we be doing. That's when I realized that grace worked both ways. I wanted so badly for my kids to understand why I made the mistakes that I did. But I haven't done the work to understand my own mother's pain. That was the hard pill that I had to swallow. Giving grace doesn't mean that you excuse what happened. It doesn't mean that you ignore the hurt. What grace does is allow you to see the bigger picture. It's about giving space to understand not just for your mother's sake, but for yours. Because holding on to the anger, holding on to the hurt, it keeps you stuck, and you deserve to be free from that. It took me a long time to get here. And let me tell you, it's still something that I'm working on. There are days when it feels easier to just stay angry, to stay hurt. But healing is about choosing grace, not just for her, but for yourself. Healing isn't a straight line. It's messy. There are setbacks, but I want you to know that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's okay to be mad, to feel hurt, to be sad, but it's also okay to want to move forward. That's what we're talking about today. Moving forward, letting yourself release that anger and resentment, not because your mother deserved it, but because you deserve it. You deserve to heal from the wounds that have held you back. When I started to understand my mother's pain, I also started to understand my own. I realized the way that she treated me wasn't about me. It was about her struggles. And that gave me the power to start to let go, to stop letting the hurt define me, and to start to see myself as more than just her daughter, but my own person. And that's what I want for you. I want you to see yourself beyond the pain, beyond the hurt, and step into who you truly are. Healing is possible, and it starts with grace for you, for your mother, and for your next generation. Let's talk about what happens when you finally decide to release the burden you've been carrying for so long. Because trust me, holding on to this is exhausting, and it weighs you down in ways that you don't really realize until you start to let go. I promise you, you will feel lighter. Because for the longest time, I thought holding on to that anger was protecting me. I believed if I stayed mad, I wouldn't get hurt again. But what I didn't see was that the anger was hurting me in ways that I didn't even realize. It was keeping me stuck. I wasn't living. I was just surviving. When I finally started to let go, it wasn't like flipping a switch. It wasn't something that happened overnight where I suddenly felt free. It was a slow process. I had to choose to let go day by day. Even now, sometimes the anger comes back. But now, instead of letting it consume me, I acknowledge it. I feel it. And then I let it go. Letting go doesn't mean that everything magically heals or that relationship with my mother is certainly perfect. It's not. There is still a lot of work to happen. But it does mean that I freed up space in my heart, my life for real healing for myself, my children, and relationships that actually mattered to me. Whew, okay. I want you to think about what it would look like for you to start letting go of that burden. Imagine how it would feel to stop carrying the weight of your mother's action on your shoulders. What would that mean for your healing? Because the truth is, holding on to pain doesn't change what happened. It doesn't fix anything. It just keeps you stuck in the same place, tired and hurt. You deserve more than that. You deserve more. You deserve to move forward and you deserve to heal. Now, I know it's not easy. It's not something that happened overnight, but it is possible. And I want to share with you some steps that I had taken that helped me, that might help you start to give your mother grace and begin to release this burden. Now, let's move into step 1. Caught you by surprise. Okay. Acknowledging the pain. You can't move forward if you don't first acknowledge the pain. Sit with it. Write about it. Talk to someone you trust. Don't push it away or try to numb it. Recognizing the pain is there for a reason, and it's okay to feel hurt. Now, step 2, understand the bigger picture. It doesn't mean excusing what your mother did. It means trying to see her as a whole person with her own struggles. She may have been dealing with her own trauma or pain, and unfortunately, that affected how she showed up for you. Understanding that she had her own battles helps you shift the perspective. It doesn't make it right, but it helps you to start letting go of expecting something that she could not give. Step 3, let me stop singing. Releasing the expectations. You've been holding on to the hopes that one day your mother might change or that she'll be the mother that you always wanted her to be. But holding on to that expectation keeps you trapped. It's time to let go of expecting things to be different, releasing her from that expectation and releasing yourself from the pain that comes with it. Okay, just let it go. Step 4, set boundaries. Grace does not mean letting someone continue to hurt you. It means that you can still set healthy boundaries, maybe that means having less contact with your mother, or maybe it means redefining your tolerance in your relationship with your mother. Boundaries protect your peace. Boundaries protect your peace. Okay, now step 5, focus on your own healing. You cannot control your mother or what happened in the past, but you can control how you move forward, whether it's through therapy, journaling, or simply spending time doing things that brings you peace. Take steps towards healing for yourself. The more you invest in your own healing, the less control the past will have over you. Okay? When I started following these steps, I began to understand my own mother's pain, but also started to understand my own. I realized that the way she treated me wasn't about me. It was about her. And that understanding gave me the power to start to let go. I stopped letting the pain define me, and I began to see myself as more than just her daughter. I saw myself as my own person, a whole person capable of healing and creating my own path forward. And that's what I want for you. I want you to see yourself beyond the pain, beyond the hurt. You are so much more than just the wounds of your past. You are capable of healing, and you deserve peace. You deserve peace. Okay? Before we wrap up today, I want to talk to those who might be feeling overwhelmed right now. Maybe you've been carrying around all this hurt and anger for a long time, and you're just tired. You want to let it go, but it feels impossible. Like it keeps pulling you back. I've been there, and I know how heavy that weight can feel. If that's where you are at, and you want to know, I want you to know that you don't have to go through this alone. If you're ready to start healing but don't know where to begin, I put together something that can help you. It's called Healing the Survivor Workbook Collection, and it's made for women who's been through trauma and are looking for real practical ways to start moving forward. This collection is full of exercises and tools to help you work through those emotions, whether it's letting go of anger, setting healthy boundaries, or finding peace. Your past is about taking those small steps that can help you finally feel lighter, like you're not carrying the weight of your world anymore. So if you're feeling like you need a little extra support, check out the Healing the Survivor Workbook collection. You can find all the details in the show notes. And I just want you to remember, healing is a journey. You don't have to do it all at once. It's okay to take one step at a time. Every little bit, you get closer to peace and freedom you deserve. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today. I really hope that my story and these steps gave you something that you can use in your own healing process. Just remember, you are worth the effort it takes to heal. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and join our Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together. It's a safe place where we dive deeper into these conversations that we have on the podcast, share our stories, and support each other through the healing process. Signing off, your sister Do Love, Rose. Bye.